this will be part two. Part one last week was obviously installation, setup, etc. So I'm going to reuse that same app to run through couple advanced features that you might find handy when it comes to easy file importer. So I have my app. It's empty, as you can see. Kind of blew away all the records. This way we could start again. And I do have let me bring over here's my Excel sheet. It has a bunch of assets, computers, equipment, etc. on one tab, and then it has some employees on another tab. And then I actually assigned, and we'll see why I'll use these assignments here in my examples, my load. So I'm going to assign assets to employees, but for now we'll take it step by step. And like I said, so from last week, we left off with, say, a multi-tab, which is kind of an advanced feature, a multi-tab import, which is what I just showed you, the 2 tabs. So let's load up the data with that same, with that Excel sheet. So last week I created my configuration, so I'm going to reuse them. And they're all explained in last week's help session, or in the videos. So all I'm going to do is add my file that I just showed you so that I can load up my data, right? So 2 tabs into two tables, right? And all I have to do, obviously, is just add my file to my configuration group, right? Which has the import configurations, which we went through last week, and then my files that I want to load. And that's it. Everything's contained here inside a configuration group. If I view that record, so now I'm seeing some information about the import, right? So let's just go and make sure that everything got loaded. Okay, so here's my assets now. My assets table and my test table are loaded, right? So now we have data inside the app from an import of multi-tabs. Now I want to take you through that one of the features that we wanted to highlight, and that is the search capability. Okay, so inside an import configuration, right, which we went through last week, the top half of this form actually defined what file I'm going to use, what table I'm going to be loading, the assets table, its DBID, etc. Right? But now at the bottom, which I didn't explain last week, is some search capability, which you can define as part of the import. So say you wanted to grab information from this, you wanted to grab or search within the same table, my assets table, or another table, say my test table, and I want to search that table, right? And for each row that I'm going to be importing in, you use the data from that import, search some information from this other table, say, and pull that field into the import, so to include it as part of the import. So not only are we going to be moving all our information from the spreadsheet, but we're going to be pulling some columns or some fields from another table. So I defined, actually, I already defined that in here. I meant to really type it in again, but here we go. So what we have is this test table, right, which we're going to define in the search, which again I already defined. But in the test table, we're going to take the name here for each of the employees, and assign that by the asset number. So basically assign the name to the asset, right? And so to do that, like, let me go back to my configuration again. All right, so here's my configuration again for my asset load. I put in my test table and my DBID for the table, and then I can define the query, right? And the query says use field 8 from the test table, and query field 8 by the value in column B of the spreadsheet, right? And again, I'm using, so I could use a column header, but I'm using the column letter. So I'm going to say, yeah, query by column letter, and pull the name, which is field ID 7, pull the name from that test table into my assets table field 1035. So that's the field inside the table, the assets table that will actually include the name of the person that is assigned to the specific asset. So if we go back to the main configuration, I'm going to bring the file in again, all right, and run. I'm going to choose it again, and it will then take all the records, right, and then update accordingly. So let me choose the file, save the record, okay, and that sets off the process for the import, and just have to refresh. So as we've seen before, this is the run detail. So this is the run information of what's occurring during the import, right? And so then we can go back. So now we should look at our assets table and see that the name, which was from the test table, came over and was updated into the actual import of the assets table. So it basically did a re-import, right, of the assets. There wasn't really anything that changed except the fact, so there's nothing we can see exactly. Actually, you know what, let me do this. Let me show you that on the spreadsheet. If I go and change, let's change some of the values on the spreadsheet. Oops. And we can see that. Okay, so I'm going to save my spreadsheet and do another import. So if I come back to my configuration group and I add that import file again to set off the import, save it. Right, so now we're going to see that this column here it will get updated, and then these will actually, since they're here already, they will get updated again. But at least I'm just showing you the fact that it's going to do an import and an update all in place for every record in the table. So let's go back to our configuration group to see the run, and here's the run itself. And so you're seeing that it finished. And then our assets table will show that I added a couple $1,000, I think, to each of these records. So that so you're seeing that the update occurs, and then obviously it pulled in, and it did that before, but it'll pull in the name again and update the record. So it did an update in place of all records, including the search from the test table, updating each individual record that was found. Now, one thing that I'll show you as part of that run, which you may have noticed, but I'll make it a little more evident. When we did the run, it shows a little bit of some details in this run table. So this is a log of what happened. So it's saying it processed 6 records. That's in the test table. So it went to check to see if it needed to add any new records or update existing ones from that second tab in the Excel sheet. And then it went through each of the records in the assets table. And it says, by the way, I tried to do a search for a whole bunch of other, I searched a whole bunch of other records in the table and didn't find related data. So I didn't find an asset number for a bunch of the records that were in the test table. All right, so we weren't able to go and say, yeah, let me find a person that's assigned to this particular asset. It didn't exist. So it actually gives you a little bit of a log of what happened during the run. Another option on the searching capability is, I want to show you that. So the search capability also has, again, it's at, here's where I would actually modify that at the configuration level. We also have an option for what's called update records. right? So I'm going to set that on as part of the search, and I'll save this, right? All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete my assets again, just to highlight what this will do. So we're going to delete all the assets in the assets table. Now, if I go back to the configuration group and add a new import file, what's going to happen is we created that option, update records only, to say, well, when you do the run, do the search, check to see if there are any related records that satisfy the search query, and if there are, process that, do the update and or add the record, right? But if you don't find the specific record in that spreadsheet, say, via the search, don't do anything with it. So update records only, that's what that means. So I'll add the file for the import run, right? Okay, it's down here. So just refresh until we see that it's completed. And there it's completed. And so what it's saying now is, by the way, I looked at the test table and I saw 6 records and processed them, but I only processed 6 records because that's all I found in as far as a match is concerned with the test table. So now if we look at the assets table, we don't see 27, which is what the spreadsheet had. We only see 6. And this came in handy for a specific customer who was constantly updating their HR table. So they were always updating employees, right? And so their file continued to grow, and it often had employees maybe that left or terminated, et cetera. So what they wanted to do was, they actually used the search to search the same table. So so it would have searched, say, for the assets table. And if it found a specific asset, it updated in place, updated all the information. But if it didn't find, it wouldn't add the record at all. So if I didn't check the update records option, it would have added all the records. So it would have updated the ones that had the name specific from the test table, but it would have added every other record if we didn't have that update records option on. So let me take, there's another option also inside here for the for searching capabilities. Again, just want to show you this one. So I'm going to uncheck update, and this says same query results for all rows. So what this will do is it's going to do the search, but once it finds the value, it will just use that it's almost like a unique value it's getting. It's doing one search, finding a record, and then it's going to use that value for the whole import. So I'll show you what happens there. And I'm going to leave the fact that I only have 6 records in here, but what's going to happen is it's going to show you, it's going to import everything and add that specific value to the table, and I'll show you. We'll highlight that in a second here. So, so I choose the file again. That sets off the import, the easy file importer, and if we go here, so it processed, and it processed 27 this time. So now if we go back and look at the assets, what happened was, you're noticing now that one value, it found one value from the test table, Gale, and it just took that value and just populated straight down every asset as it imported it. Okay, so that was a kind of a, get one record, unique value, and just propagate, as part of the search, and propagate that through the whole import. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to show and highlight is another feature of the easy file importer that a customer used to basically automate the entire load process for them on a daily basis. And so I had this one particular customer who wanted to pump time-related data from the prior night into a table so that it would actually accumulate, and then they can do all their analysis and then their billing, etc. So they told me, oh yeah, we have this process that does an automated email to one of our folks in the finance department or wherever they were, and then they would actually have to take it, massage it, and maybe add the records to Quickbase manually or whatever they did, aggregate it, etc. So what we said is, well, we have an add-on called the email parser, and what the email parser does is it will consume an email and place it into a file attachment field. And so we said, well, that would work well with Easy File Importer, because once the email parser grabs the or pulls the attachment out, it can place it into our import files table right away, straight away, instead of like on what I'm doing, adding it every time. And it can really be a sort of a lights out type automated process. So I'm just going to illustrate that by emailing the email parser from my Gmail account, the file that I've been using, and show how that will update and process. And again, just remember, we have all these records right now have Gale on each one of them, and you'll see it'll change once I email the file. So I just want to go back, check my configurations. I want to take these options back to the standard default options. Okay. And now let me email our process. And so I'm going to email an ID that, let me do it first, and then I can explain. So I'm going to compose an email in Gmail, and I'm sending it to an address called Easy File Import Demo at mail.quickbasetools1.com. Now, we can brand a particular mailbox for our customers. So that could say client ABC at mail.quickbasetools1.com or etc. So we can come up with, we provide a branded sort of mailbox to monitor for anybody who wants to use it. What I'm going to do is, so from Gmail, I'm just going to attach that same file and send it over to my Easy File Import Demo mailbox. Okay, so there that went. And so we have 5 here. We should see the 6th pop in. Take a probably close to 30 seconds or so. And this, again, this was, oh, here it is. So it just came in. And so now if I look at, so Easy File Importer just added that file to this table. And now if we just keep refreshing, there we go, to process the file. And so now if we look at our assets table again, it doesn't show Gale anymore. It just shows it went back to, updating respective records based on our test table with the asset ID and the respective name of the employee that owns that particular asset. So those are the different options and the different things I kind of wanted to highlight in a short amount of time. So I think, Matthew, that's probably what I have to show right now. We can take questions on anything you've seen or any other questions about Easy File Importer as well. So
yeah, definitely open for questions right now. Any client about what Todd just demonstrated or about any of our other add-ons as well.
Right.
Definitely does not need to just be about Easy File Importer. And we did have a couple people roll in as we were talking. So if anyone didn't have a chance to ask their question, now is the time. Well, I think that says something for itself. So I think that this was great, Todd, and the Easy File Importer from Email Parser was a very nice touch as well. We do have about half hour left. And at this moment, I was looking, Todd, we
Yep.
don't have too many support cases on Easy File Importer, so that's great.
Okay. Matthew, just one other comment. I mean, I just kind of illustrated the fact that, we can use one of our add-ons to set off another add-on. And that goes for just about any of our add-ons for that matter. I mean, a lot of our customers sort of are able to integrate them together to nudge one to work while the other is doing another certain type of process. So we have a lot of ways to sort of, create a nice stream of automation, if you will, workflow with a lot of our add-ons. So
Absolutely. All right, Justin, I see you have your hand raised.
I do. I have a question.
All right.
All right. So Todd, I'm curious on my end. Let's say I was running Easy File Importer and I uploaded a file, but the process didn't run. What would maybe be like your first, I don't know, 2 or 3 steps maybe towards troubleshooting what the problem might be?
okay, so that's a good question. And so every time, right? So we can always come back to the configuration group, right? This is our main record that houses the configurations, right? Which are the import configurations, and says where's your file coming from, and and what columns are contained within it, and where are they going field ID wise, and table DBID, etc. Right? So, and we define all that here. So then we have another related table, which is the import files table, and that's where you would see what you're mentioning. So any kind of anomaly, any kind of issues, obviously, it's giving us a process complete message, because the first tab, right, second tab, sheet 2, process towards the test table, and then this second record, which is the other configuration, processed using sheet 1 to our assets table. Now, you already see here, to a certain degree, it giving some information regarding, it ran, but by the way, we didn't find some records. Is that okay? So this is where you would see a lot of, red flags, things that may not, file may not have been properly formatted like you think, potentially, and we would tell you that right inside the run details table. So it's really a log of success, but also failure, and an explanation as to what actually occurred.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Now, Todd, one thing that I have gotten from some of my clients is they have, end users working in these Excel sheets, and not every time do they realize that this is being used in an import process. So they have added columns in separate places. I know it might not be completely possible to show, but can you, and I think we touched upon it last week, but can you just touch upon why it would be, why you can use both ways, both the letters and the column headers to select where they're going to be mapped to?
Right. So that would relate to a configuration, an import configuration, right?
Right.
And so this tab, the third tab, import field mappings, while I cheated, and because I knew all my columns straight away, and I said, and just in the name of not wanting to type column headers out,
Right.
I just put A, B, C, D, but you're right. I could have put, right, let me bring over my sheet. I could have put my column names, right? Instead of A, B, C, D, I could have put category, asset number, etc. Right? But the cool thing is they don't have to be in any order, right? And so asset name could be at, past column N, it doesn't matter. If we specify asset name, say, it'll find that column in the spreadsheet. It doesn't have to be in any kind of specific order, right? Column wise.
Right.
And so then, and the other thing is, if I don't want to import columns, I don't have to, right? This can have 100 columns, but we don't care, because we're going to specify via the field mappings what columns we want, maybe, like you said, probably by name, and then point it at a field ID.
Right.
And then that's a better way to do it versus what I did.